Hi everyone, I'm Catherine and welcome back to Swisswatches. Today I'm here with all three of the Silver Snoopy Award watches, including the two limited editions. So thank you very much to OMEGA Museum for lending us these, and also the 2020 auction which came out this October. So you may or may not know the story behind NASA and why they use Snoopy as their mascot. And the answer is that the happy little guy is their mascot who represents good fortune and success during missions. And they invented the Silver Snoopy Award in 1968. And it was also actually awarded to OMEGA, as you probably know, in 1970 following the Apollo mission 13. And the reason for that is that it was a Speedmaster that helped them to time the 14 seconds rocket blasts which helped them to return safely back to Earth and change course. So let's start by looking at the first of the three Snoopy watches to appear, which was back in 2003. Obviously this year wasn't celebrating any particular anniversary since the Apollo 13 mission, which the watch is dedicated to, but it was a limited edition nonetheless. It was limited to 5,441 pieces, and that's because the whole flight took 142 hours, 54 minutes and 41 seconds. Out of the three watches we do have here, it's definitely the one that most looks like your typical Speedmaster. It's a 42mm stainless steel case with a matching stainless steel bracelet. And it does have a black dial, black tachymeter scale without superluminova. And the main difference is that we have the sub-dial at 9 o'clock featuring Snoopy, which reads Eyes on the Stars. And this mirrors exactly what we see on the case back. The only minor difference is that the helmet of Snoopy at 9 o'clock on the sub-dial does have a reflection within the helmet, which isn't included on the back, and that's just because it was produced separately. As you'd expect on a Moonwatch, the caliber inside is hand wound, and that's the caliber 1861. So this caliber is basically just an updated version of the 861, which has been used in several Moonwatches between 1968 and 97. So it features the same shuttle cam and Delrin chronograph brake as the 861, and it's just designed to preserve the teeth of the chronograph seconds wheel and just avoid wear and tear in general. It has a decent power reserve of 48 hours and a frequency of 3 Hz. It was some time until we saw another limited edition Snoopy watch, which took place in 2015 at Basel World, and I think it really took collectors by surprise. This one had a really amazing case back, a very minimalist colour scheme that really departed from the classic Speedmaster design code in terms of having a white dial for starters, which is a lot more rare. Mainly we see it only on white gold models or perhaps some moon phase models, so again, that also made it very appealing to collectors. This model was limited to 1,970 pieces, which references the fact that the mission took place in 1970. Moving on to the dial, as I say, it's white, which is very rare for any OMEGA Speedmaster, and it has these blackened baton hands which really give it this minimalist feel. Even Snoopy's quite low-key this time, as he's just covered in black and white, although he does light up with superluminova. We actually had a go at using ultraviolet light to see how he lit up, and it just looked incredible. Previously, white dial models, as I say, were only used on special editions, but I think it really pays off here, and it still has a black bezel as we saw on the previous version, but this time it's actually ceramic, and this is the first ever model produced by OMEGA to use superluminova on a ceramic bezel, so it's actually quite groundbreaking for that reason as well. And then moving across to the more meaningful, emotional parts of the watch, between 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock, it reads, "What could you do in 14 seconds?" Which is kind of a nice thing to look down and see during the day, and it might just motivate you that bit further while you're sat at your desk. And also Snoopy's saying, "Failure is not an option," which again is quite cute, quite emotional, and quite nostalgic, and also quite motivating. Once again, we have a watch that's powered by the caliber 1861, which is the updated version of the 861 I mentioned earlier. However, some people have said that they would like to be able to see their movement through a sapphire crystal caseback, not least when it's a manually wound movement. It can be quite magical to watch it in action. However, I think having this blue enamel with silver powder and Snoopy is even more magical. That brings us to this year's Silver Snoopy Award watch, which was released on October 5th this year. The reason it was released on October 5th is because that's the same date as NASA awarded OMEGA with their Silver Snoopy Award back in 1970. There are two really interesting things about this watch. The first is the caseback. We're really starting to see a theme with these casebacks, that they're going to be the star of the show with these watches. The other thing is the availability, as this is the first of the three not to be a limited edition. And we're going to have to see how things work out with availability, because that still remains quite ambiguous. So once again, what we have here is a 42mm stainless steel watch. This time it has a silver dial, although that actually fooled me. I thought that the dial was white when I first saw a picture because it is a very bright silver. Then what we have is the 3 subdials in blue, including once again a Snoopy subdial at 9 o'clock, and this time it reads 50th anniversary on mark of the occasion of 50 years since Apollo 13, and we've got Snoopy in his spacesuit smiling away once again. And then we just have matching blue hands with superluminova and also blue hour markers, and also a blue tachymeter ceramic bezel, although this time it doesn't include superluminova on the bezel. And it's accompanied by this beautiful blue nylon fabric strap, but this time the fabric strap also has a special detail on it. It has the actual flight path taken by Apollo 13, and it's just very subtly implemented into the design. Now moving to the most exciting part, it's time to talk about the case back. So the case back uses OMEGA's patented lock system, which is called the NAIAD lock caseback system. And this ensures that all of these special engravings stay in place. So just to take you through what we have inside this watch, we have a moon, which, to answer some of your questions, is indeed decorated on the sapphire crystal using microstructured metallization. And the moon is actually printed from inside rather than outside, meaning no, it's not going to be affected by you wearing, for example, a NATO strap. Secondly, we have this animated Snoopy in his command and service module, which is shown on this magical hand, which rotates whenever the chronograph function is in use. And he's visible for roughly 34 seconds if you count from when the tip of the rocket first appears to the tail of the rocket disappears. And then behind is my absolute favorite part. We have this Earth disc which rotates once per minute, so in sync with the watch's small second hands, and it just looks so realistic to me, and it's absolutely adorable to see Snoopy come up over it and cross back to the far side of the moon. And finally, it features the words once again, eyes on the stars. Unlike the other 2 models that we've taken a look at, this time we have a new caliber in the watch, and it's the OMEGA Co-Axial Master Chronometer caliber 3861, which is once again a manual winding chronograph movement, but this time it's with a co-axial escapement. So as a certified master chronometer, it's been approved by METAS, and it's resistant to magnetic fields reaching up to 15,000 Gauss, so it's definitely going to get you through everyday life, for example using your laptop and using cards and so on. Another interesting point to note is that the 2003 version uses Hesselite, really making it your classic style of Moonwatch. By contrast, these 2 more modern versions just use sapphire crystal, meaning that you couldn't actually take them to the moon. I think we can almost unanimously agree that the latter 2 versions are that little bit more exciting in terms of detail and attention to detail, because the first version played it quite safe and they didn't really do anything too crazy that was so different from your average Speedmaster, whereas these 2 really do invert design codes using new colours and, as I said, special details. I think that what is really special is the quote, "What could you do in 14 seconds?" which is inscribed on the 2015 version's dial. And it would have been nice if OMEGA had included this special touch on all of the Silver Snoopy Award watches, because it's such a specific and meaningful quote to these particular models, and it's a bit of a pity that it isn't present on the 2020 edition. It's interesting to think about the price of the 2020 version, which is priced at €9,160, which is substantially more than you might expect for another Snoopy model. However, what we do have is this certified master chronometer, which now has the stopping seconds function, and we also have this incredibly beautiful and complex case back, which really just shows off the craftsmanship at OMEGA. Personally, I think it's worth it, and I've seen so much positive feedback about this watch, but I can understand why some people might have to think twice. Thank you so much for watching today and joining us on this very special day when we have all 3 watches in the same room, which I'm pretty sure is quite rare to see. Now, what I want from you is to know which watch you would choose if money weren't an object, and also just to let me know which particular design features you're really a fan of. Thanks again for watching, and we'll be back soon.